What's up, guys? Welcome back to Street Sense. So this is a new format that we are starting up with. It's gonna be a podcast wherein each and every day, till the time we all are stuck over here in this whole quarantine setup, we'll be picking up one single topic and we'll be having a completely organic, unabridged, unedited, uncensored conversation around it. And by we, I mean me. So we'll be picking up one single topic and we'll have like a completely open conversation about it. And what we'll be doing over here is I'll be passing on information, education, and basic updates about that specific topic, but at the same time I'll be having my personal perspective attached to this conversation, so that there's an idea behind why are we bringing a specific topic forward that also comes towards you. Now, why are we doing this is because we all are stuck over here in this whole quarantine setup. Yes, and not to forget that a lot of content has been hampered for us because of this whole lockdown situation. There were a lot of interviews and podcasts that were scheduled with some amazing guests, but they all got cancelled because of this whole situation. And likewise, there were a lot of events that were supposed to happen in the month of March and April, and specifically for some events we had kind of like a media exclusivity too, wherein it would have been from Street Sense for the very first time that you would have been getting your eyes at the event, or knowing about what's gonna happen at the event, and blah 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 blah. So kind of like a media exclusivity space. But then all of us, as we know, that half of them have already been cancelled and rest of them have been postponed, and we don't know yet as of now whether these events will happen anytime soon or not. But nevertheless, the current situation is that we all are stuck over here and a lot of content has been hampered. And but the whole thing is, as we promised, that we'll be dedicatedly serving you guys with the best of content that's available to us, and whatever best we can do for this community. And this is probably one way of doing it, because I feel podcasts are a great way to learn and educate ourselves about certain specific things. And specifically when you are super passionate about something, like that's something what I'm assuming that we all are as far as sneakers and streetwear is concerned, then podcasts are a great way to actually enhance our skills, if I may say, or skills, if I may say, or basic, and gain more and more information and education around it. So cutting all that BS out, we are over here, and to begin with, we'll start up with the Indian street culture and streetwear, and basically how this whole culture, which was super alien for all of us as Indians about say 5 to 6 years ago, is something that's super in today. And how did this happen? What all influenced this culture to grow to a level wherein brands are willing to pump in money and invest in an economy like ours. I won't say economy, in a market like ours, as at India as a whole. So that's something that we'll be talking about. So to begin with, we won't just directly hit up to the Indian street culture or the Indian streetwear whole thing, but what is street in general? Street was basically an idea of having your personal expression. The street culture as a whole was like more of like bringing all the cultures together and still have an individuality of your own, but be a part of something that's super inclusive. So this is not something wherein people would have discrimination around, be it on the basis of your color or religion or this or that. everyone comes in together because of the love of the specific culture. This started off basically with all the skaters and surfers around in US, specifically in the New York and the Bronx area. And then a crazy boom happened with the whole hip hop culture and hip hop revolution also happening at the same time. So hip hop, street, skate, surf, all these coming in together developed something which is so beautiful today, that it's so inclusive that anyone and everyone across the globe can be a part of this whole thing. And there's no prejudice or discrimination that runs inside the culture, at least till the time everyone is doing it with all their honesty and earnesty, and being a part of this whole thing with their honesty. So that's pretty much about it. We'll have like a detailed kind of a podcast around how this whole street culture and hip hop culture started off, and not just keeping India in mind but from a global perspective too. But today we'll be talking about Indian street. So that's something that basically started off back in the day in about 1960s and 65s in US. And again, the idea was to have like a personal representation, your persona to come out, be it through your art, be it through your skills, and by skills I mean skating, surfing, rapping or whatever, or be it through your clothing. So people used to wear loose ass t-shirts or super comfortable stuff like that, which was not super stiff or prim and proper, as back in the day was probably a thing, to look like a gentleman. So that's what kept them different. But at the same time, that culture as a whole grew so big that even the most prim and proper people today want to be a part of this whole thing. And that's kind of like a revolution only. So yeah, that's basically the whole thing. Now, if we go back about 7 or 8 years also, considering India, there were not a lot of people who were influencing this culture in India, or who were dedicatedly, giving all their time towards this culture, which we see, a lot of people doing today. But back in the day, that was not a thing. Few of the people whom I can actually name down, who were like in the scene and were trying to make something happen, were like Bow Ties and Bones, Alan Claudius. So he was, I believe, like, I think the first guy to become like a fashion influencer, but not just like any fashion influencer, but like a street fashion influencer for India. And what he has done basically for the culture is crazy to another level, because back in the day there was no demand in the market for such thing. Not a lot of people were interested into this whole thing, but he still worked his way up, and he still figured out his personal space around. In the end, it's like there was no market, but eventually whatever market was also available had only one person to follow and had only one influencer. So kind of it became like a win-win situation in both the spaces. But won't take anything away from that guy. Bow Ties and Bones, Arnold Claudius, has done some great work. And as far as influencers are concerned, hands down he was the first one, and he will always be the godfather of street fashion influencers in India. So that's that. Then how basically what drives anything, or I would say everything in India, is basically celebrity influence. Now what happens over here is, if someone in the Bollywood or in the pop industry of India, be it say Diljit Dosanjh, Raftaar, Badshah, or celebrities like Ranbir Kapoor, Ranveer Singh, all these people, if they wear anything, there's a lot of PR that revolves around only what they wear, and only about how they carried themselves to an XYZ place, even if it's say just an airport look. So there's a lot of PR that happens, and lately that has been happening a lot. wherein BuzzFeed or Scoop Whoop comes up with an article saying that uh, something like Ranbir Kapoor spotted wearing two different sneakers on both of his feet. So something of that sort, wherein he's not even wearing something different. It's just different laces that he has on, different pairs. So that's that. So when this PR started happening, and this actually started off say 4 or 5 years ago itself, when this PR actually started happening, that's when street as a culture, sneakers as a culture, and street wear as a thing became popular amongst the regular people of India. And by regular people, I mean not just us, the millennials or Gen Z, but just general, like our parents also, if I may say. Now, this culture before that was super alien to all of us. It is, to some extent, still is super alien. Maybe not for us, but 110% for like our families, our elders, because they still don't understand the concept of wearing super loose as t-shirts, or something that has like uh, printed all over the back of the t-shirt or the front of the t-shirt, and having like some absurd amount of money attached to that specific silhouette or that specific pair. Say something like an off-white, or even an ASSC for that matter, because it's just a plain basic t-shirt which is retailing at about 4 grand. And as far as Indian economy and Indian mindset is concerned, 4 grand for one t-shirt, it's still very heavy. Now, so that's that. So wearing all those type of clothes, having like hand painted or graffiti backs on jackets and stuff like that, it's still, that culture is super alien for our families, for our parents. But why this has become, more and more acceptable in our country is because of us and amongst the common people. Why? Because there has been a lot of PR. Basically, that's the biggest driving force. We can say that there are a lot of influencers who have been influencing all of us here and there, but let's be very honest that most of the people who are even watching this right now have been influenced by those type of articles or that type of a content that has been posted by say Scoop Whoop or BuzzFeed, and then reached out to people like us. That's the reality. And that's basically how this whole thing took a crazy leap in India, wherein there was PR happening for things that Ranbir Kapoor started wearing, things that Karan Johar started wearing, things that Badshah was wearing, Diljit Dosanjh was wearing, wherein hands down for sure these guys are some crazy people who have been taking this culture forward on a celebrity level, if I may say. And they, personally speaking, guys like Ranbir Kapoor or Abhishek Bachchan are very low-key with their whole style statements and stuff like that. But Karan Johar, Diljit Dosanjh, Badshah, they are out there. They are hands down out there. And that's the biggest influence for most of the people who want to, get into this culture. Be it street, be it sneakers. Now, the problem in Indian streetwear or Indian street culture as a whole is that most of us have been misinterpreting and the definition of streetwear has become like a synonym to hype. Street as a culture, streetwear as a whole domain is super huge, guys. Hype is a very small part of it. If I may say so, hype won't be more than say 10% of street culture or streetwear as a whole. Because street is basically your personal representation. So for example, if I wear a box logo Supreme t-shirt, a plain white with a red box logo, that's street for you because it's Supreme. And then over that, if I wear like a flannel from Off-White, that's street for you because Off-White has labeled itself as a streetwear label by Virgil Abloh. So that makes sense for all you guys. But what if I wear like a plain, say an H&M t-shirt, plain white H&M t-shirt, and a plain, say, red flannel from H&M, would that make me any less of a street? No. So the problem in India specifically is that people have started attaching streetwear and street culture as a whole with the brands. Now street culture is a very big domain, guys. Street culture, it's a culture, it's not a specific brand, or it is not stagnant, or it is not only it does not revolve around very specific brands only. It's a huge domain. So for example, even if I get a basic H&M t-shirt, and if I feel like painting it down, or if I feel like removing its sleeves, what is it? That's my personal representation of what I want to wear and how that's gonna comfort me and how that's gonna represent me. That makes it street. Why I'm using this term street, every now and then and very frequently in this whole situation, because this needs to get out there. Because again, why street sense came in place, and why whatever we are doing, be it pushing articles, be it developing all this type of video content, be it connecting with a lot of brands and developing content here and there everywhere, has been because we want proper knowledge and information and education to get out there. So that's that. So this is basically something that becomes like a driving force for India again, because one, we see celebrities wearing such stuff, and then once we hit up all our Instagram influencers as well, they are also representing the same thing. So again, no denial, they are very vocal about what they are doing is pretty much hype driven. So then eventually it comes to us as to whether we want everything to be hype driven in our closet, or in our life, or in our life cycle, in our lifestyle, or do we want to get into something that's bigger and that's more beautiful, I would say personally, because with hype you are restricted towards specific silhouettes or specific brands, but with street, it's an open space, it's an open canvas, you can do anything with anything. So for example, just the way I compared Supreme and Off-White with Zara's t-shirts and flannels, what if I say that, okay, for a very long time in my life I was a part of the corporate culture. So what if I wear, say, a basic white t-shirt from a brand like Van Heusen, and I wear an open shirt above it. I won't even say that I'll be wearing a flannel. What if I wear an open checked shirt from Blackberries? The aesthetics are pretty much same. The styling, the style statement is pretty much the same, and the person who's wearing that specific thing is also same. So does that make me any less of a street? No. It's about how you style yourself. It's about how you represent yourself. It's about how you carry yourself. It's never about brands. We can say that brands like H&M, which are like fast fashion driven brands, other brands also, say Uniqlo, that's come into the Indian scene about 3 months ago only. All these brands are, say, streetwear, but what is streetwear as a whole? It's your personal representation. So you can make anything turn into your personal representation and change into something that's street for you. That's the whole idea. This is basic gyan or basic information that I would like to pass. Now, next up, again coming back to the Indian street culture, that's that. Then what basically started happening was, because of this whole influence from celebrities and everywhere, and wherein we have pages like Sneaker Stars India, wherein they are constantly putting a post wherein they see Varun Dhawan wearing certain things, and they dissect it down. So this is shirt, this is from XYZ brand, priced at blah blah blah. These are the sneakers which are from XYZ brand, priced at blah blah blah. So all this this type of a content has been influencing our market a lot lately. We can clearly say that it's been like about 3 odd years since this has been the focal point in India, and that's how a lot of laymen, I would say, get attached to this culture, and that's wherein they come into Instagram and start following guys like Aditya Bhalla, guys like Frankly Street, pages like mine, pages like Veg Non-Veg, pages like as I said, Sneaker Stars India, and then start following other resellers, this and that and whatnot. Shashwat Singhania and Sahil Nandal, can't forget them for sure. Now, that's how the whole traffic diversion starts, and that's how it basically started off. And now we can proudly say that there are a lot of people, and every single person wants to get attached to this culture one way or the other. But the problem is they don't understand as to how they can actually get into it, because they also misinterpret our culture and consider only Supremes and Off-Whites are the way to get into this whole thing. You can get into this whole thing through that, but that's only gonna help you get to the clout, or get hype towards you. Now, as far as Indian streetwear brands are concerned, there are some brands who have been killing it with their products, with their designs, and not just their products and designs, but even the quality, which if not lesser or if not more, I would say we are at par with most of the premium labels in the streetwear game, as they say or as they claim out there in the global market are. Be it ASSE, be it Stussy, be it Off-Whites, be it Supremes, be it any brand that you can actually think of, there are a lot of brands who are killing it over here in India. So to name a few, there are brands like Untitled, there are brands like Man Studios, Not One, Jaywalking. So these are just at the top of my head some brand names that I can remember. Then what else? There's Valkyrie. Then a lot of brands are like into the scene. Disarm. Then Deliwear, not to forget. And Deliwear, hands down, man, hands down. That's like one brand that I really love and really dig, majorly because they actually represent Indian street. Why is that so? I'll explain you. And Veg Non-Veg too. So Veg Non-Veg, being the first ever multi-sneaker boutique in India, have come up with the lineup of their own streetwear products too. So that also we can say is type of a label for the street culture. Now that's that. Now streetwear and everything that revolves around any culture is basically driven through the culture and the type of ideologies you personally have, and those are majorly driven out of your demographies or your countries or your ethics or your ethnicity, if that's a thing. Yeah. So if you'll see, and if you'll go to US, there street as a culture and street as a style statement might look very similar, but it's very different in US, it's very different in European countries, it's very different in Japan. Now the problem in India is we have been only following all these different countries and following their personal style statements and incorporating it within us. They have their culture attached to their streetwear clothing as well. Say if we consider Murakami, so all the type of designs that he does, they have a heritage value with the Japanese culture. Likewise, whatever Virgil does has in ways a hint of European culture, and likewise it's with other brands too. In India there has been no one other than Deliwear to be incorporating our personal culture into streetwear as a clothing, wherein Delhi Wear has been doing some crazy kurtas and pants, and they have been playing around with some pocket bags which you can like literally pin up your pant with your pants and your kurtas and stuff like that. And the best part is that whatever they are doing it with full honesty, and whatever's coming out of their brand is probably not catching a lot of hype, because we normally overlook all these brands that are more homegrown. But hands down, that's one of the most finest brands as far as Indian street wear culture is concerned, because they have attached our our history and our personal style statements as a culture, as heritage, with street culture. So that's also one way to see it, and that's also one way to say that it's not just t-shirts and joggers or denims or flannels that represent you, and that's how you get into this culture. But you can also wear kurtas with some cool jackets and rock sneakers with them. That's what something that Delhi Wear started off. Now that's basically how we are moving around in India, and that's how this whole street culture is moving around in India. Hands down, it is booming, and now is literally the right time for anyone and everyone to be a part of this whole thing. Why? Because there are a lot of brands who have started started entering this domain, and wherein most of the people earlier were super hesitant about how to start a brand or how to start a streetwear label, when we know that there's not a lot of audience that's over there who will be accepting as to whatever they design or whatever they produce or whatever they want to sell. But now they have started doing it for the culture. They have started doing for the community that surrounds them. So say if it's like three friends who want to start a label, they would not just look for a bigger market and a bigger domain across India and how they can tap all the cities, but they would focus on something like what all are the people who surround them, and what are the type of people, and what's the type of demand that surrounds all these people, and they would cater to only those people. They would do it for the community, and then eventually if it works out, that's when they'll start expanding out. This is what's making this whole culture more and more beautiful day by day, and that's why I say this is the best time to be into this whole thing. Now, where does India as street culture stand in respect to the global market? India, hands down, is the biggest market for any and every brand out there. Believe it or not, but with veg, non-veg and with super kicks, there have been brands who have been doing some exclusive drops which aren't even available on their websites or their personal retail stores, but are exclusively available with veg, non-veg and super kicks only. Say something like Fear of God has been dropped at veg, non-veg. It dropped today only, so like for you guys it would be like yesterday. Yeah, so Fear of Gods, then Air Jordan 1 Defiance, then what the Air Jordan 4s were a thing. Then we know of there are a lot of exclusive drops that gonna happen here and there. Lati's Hair, which is exclusive to Lati's Hair, which is exclusive to Super Kicks, and there's another brand, I'll just check the exact name, which is now exclusive to veg, non-veg, which is Veda or Veja, something like that. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but yeah, here it is, and it's Veja. It's Veja, and these are some dope ass sneakers and labels that have actually entered our culture, man. Because earlier it used to be like, if it's designer wear, then it's either Louis Vuitton, Gucci or Balenciagas and stuff like that. And if it's more on the athletic If it's more on the athletic side, then it's like Nikes, Pumas, and Adidas just ruling the market. Now, that's that. And then how can we actually say that how important of a market has it become for all these brand labels, is by analyzing just the simplest of the thing, that India finally has a silhouette that's that represents our own culture, which is Holi, with Pharrell Williams. And that too, that's a drop from Adidas originals themselves. How, what more bigger can we probably expect from a brand like Adidas to be having like an exclusive design that represents our culture? Next thing was like veg non-veg having their own silhouette. No, I won't say a silhouette, but veg non-veg having their own colorway for with Fila mind blowers by the name of Masalas. So now veg non-veg has their own personal colorway. That's of course big, and that's only happening because there is a market for that, and there is a market that wants to grab pieces and get hold of things and pairs which represent us. Likewise, there is a pair which is exclusive to Super Kicks as well, with Fila only. So there are a lot of things that have been happening lately. Who would have expected Fear of Gods to actually drop in India? Who would have? No one. Then there have been some crazy drops that have been happening here and there, which no one expected, but have been a thing. For that matter, Yeezys. Each and every drop that's happening, at least for 350s, each and every drop that has been happening globally, we get that specific silhouette over here. And the drop, if not more, if not less, but the number of pairs that drop over here at specific retail stores, or specific these veg non-veg and Super Kicks type stores, that's like a decent amount. And then reverse breads to be dropping in India, which were exclusive to veg non-veg again, was huge. Even though in all of India we only got about 30 pairs, but having a lineup for 40 hours straight, to camp down in winters, like literal winters, for 40 hours straight for a pair, it genuinely tells how big of a market it is and how crazy people are going for this culture. So it's only growing with time, and there's a lot that's coming in. The only thing that I personally feel that we should actually start doing is to attach ourselves more with our homegrown labels. Say like Smokewear, Almost Gods, Culture Cultivation, Untitled, Holy Stoked, then Stray Clothing. So these are some labels where with whom we should attach ourselves. If not invest all our money with them, at least get one single, say a t-shirt from these labels, and feel them, wear them for once, and give them the respect, at least what they deserve. Because eventually, as we all know, from April 1st itself, the customs on international shipping is already increasing to 77%, especially in the international e-commerce websites and the luxury goods. So the customs are hitting the mark of 77%, which is huge. If you still want to, if you have that much of money wherein you would like to invest 77% extra over the resale price, even, because it's any which way is really hard to cop anything at retail, even from international e-commerce, but after resale you want to spend 77% more just to get one, say, hoodie or a t-shirt. Personally speaking, that doesn't make sense when we can get something that's better, something that represents us more and not their culture as a whole. Then why not invest into something like this? Not just our money, but our energies too. but our passion too, but our love too. And it's eventually, how is a culture driven forward? It's driven forward with support only. What we ask is only and only your support. What we expect is only and only support. And likewise, there are a lot of brands who just need your support, guys. You don't have to at times buy a lot of clothes for them from them. You know, the basic thing that you can basically do is just connect with them and talk to them about their brand, about their label, the ideas, and what you probably think of them. And for someone, you know, coming from someone who has a brand, not a clothing brand, but a brand that associates itself with this culture, I would be super happy to have just a conversation of this sort with anyone. And I would be really happy to understand the perspective from someone else, and you know, look deep down inside me just to understand what is it that I'm doing right and what is it that I'm doing wrong, and what is it that's probably the expectation of my target audience. That's about it. I think you know, in the last few minutes we have diverted ourselves from the main topic, which was Indian streetwear, the Indian street culture, and its growth. So yeah, again, not to forget, it's growing, it's booming, it's at its peak level, and it's the best market for any and every label to probably enter inside, because we are super accepting to anyone and everyone, whatever comes in. The only thing that we require as Indians, as Indian community, is the value, be it through the product, be it through the story that you want to share with your product, be it with the quality, be it with the price point or whatever. And from a personal note, the only thing that's gonna come down from me towards you guys is gonna be you know, let's attach ourselves more towards our homegrown brands, our homegrown labels, and support the people who are driving this culture while sitting in our country only, rather than investing our money and our energies into something that's not even from our country. That's I don't want to sound patriotic though, but I'm being very honest, because eventually it's not just about you know, ethics and ideas and investing ourselves with all these brands, but also about the monetary levels too. Because say a Bape hoodie that probably costs you nothing less than 45 grand in India, the resale value, and even if you get it shipped from Japan or US, it would not cost you anything less than 30 to 35 grand, hands down, for sure. And that too, the higher chances are that that specific piece won't be even a DS piece. That would be something like a used or a pre-owned piece. So why to invest that much of a money into something that's pre-owned, wherein you can invest something within India with super better quality as well, and rock it and represent your own thing. Now, when this whole point comes in as to the fact that when we wear Bape, we catch a lot of attention from people all around us. Why can't we give all that attention to our personal labels? Why can't we create a community that revolves around the labels from India only, and give them equal amount of respect and equal amount of hype that probably they deserve? Because there are labels who are gonna, you know, just kill it down the lines. There are some labels who have just entered the market, like Full Power for that matter. I have seen their clothes, I have seen their apparel range, I have seen their concepts and the story behind each and everything that they are designing. Full Power is gonna kill it in the market, hands down, and they deserve a lot of hype for sure. Why can't we give them that much of a hype? Only because they are homegrown? I don't think so. That should be a criteria though. So I guess that's pretty much about it, guys, for today. and Indian street culture, Indian streetwear drives its attention from the celebrity influence and from all these PR articles that are done from labels like, or e-magazines like BuzzFeed and Scoop Whoop, media houses if I may say, and eventually everything revolves around hype, majorly because that's where the clout is. That's where you can probably expect yourself to become more and more famous. But in the end, in the long run, in this space wherein you would like to sustain yourself for a very long time, and not, if this is not something that you would like to be a part of for say 6 months or 7 months, then homegrown brands are is the place, and are the labels wherein we should invest our own thing. This is like a summary as to whatever we've talked about, and not to deny the fact that this is the best time for anyone and everyone to be a part of this culture, to enjoy this culture, to invest yourself into this culture and bring a change in this culture, just the way Delaware has been doing it and has been trying to do it. I won't say that they have been successful into doing it, because there are still a lot of people who still don't consider the things and the concepts that Delaware has brought out. They still don't consider them to be a straight driven thing. But to me that's pretty street, because that's something like, I'm a Punjabi, so kurtas are like a thing which I have like grown up, and my family has always taught me about the heritage of the type of clothes that I wear. So kurtas are something that I relate heavily, and I love to rock them. I'm sorry, but I can't rock them while I sit over here, but I love to rock them. And if I can have a concept and a design wherein I can rock a good jacket with it, or a chunky pair of sneakers with it, then I would love to. And that's what we should actually look forward to. On that note, I would like, if you guys have been listening to me all this while, I would like all you guys to check out Teja's page. So I'll just tell you guys. So Teja is a guy from Bangalore. I'll just tell you his Insta handle. Yeah, so it's Tej Surabhi. So TEJSURABHI. He's the guy, and he does a lot of shoots with sneakers and with his streetwear clothing and apparel, but with lungis, because that's what represents his culture, and that's what makes it more beautiful, and that's what makes him stand out even more. So that's pretty much about it, guys. I am not really sure. This is for the very first time that I've tried this sort of a format. I've tried doing a podcast, hosting a podcast, interacting with you guys like this. So let me know if you guys enjoyed it, and just share all your suggestion about things. All the criticism over here is completely acceptable. The only thing that you guys got to do is just hit the DM and let us know. This is something that's gonna be available on our YouTube as well, and our Insta TV as well. So what are you guys waiting for? If you guys are on Instagram, make sure you guys hit the follow button, and if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to this. And until tomorrow, because next time was like tomorrow only. Until tomorrow, see you guys super soon. Cheers.